everybody has intuition, every single one of us.
The data doesn't lie.
Science itself is proving that there's something to this.
But are you willing to embrace your true potential?
I think the hardest part about any of us is not knowing the next step first.
Celebrity psychic medium Colby Rebel joins us to share the power of trusting that inner guidance.
The more you trust your own voice, the more you can trust your intuition.
And living a life beyond your wildest dreams.
You are more powerful than you can ever believe in yourself.
On an all-new Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Myers, a podcast dedicated to those seeking a more fulfilled and purposeful life through thought-provoking conversation, spiritual exploration, and authentic connections. The intentional movement has begun, and if you found yourself here, you are a part of it. Intentional Living with Courtney Myers starts now. Hi, Colby. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. I am really excited to talk to you because you are essentially the psychic to the stars. You have experienced a lot of transitions and reinventions of yourself over your life. And it's just, I'm really, really thrilled to get to connect and hear what kind of guidance you have for any of us, especially us women going through some changes or wanting to look for deeper within to see what we want to do with our life.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here. And yes. It is amazing how our own intuition can truly guide us to our life's purpose. And I'm very, very passionate about talking about that.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Your intuition guided you through. I mean, I know you were a wrestler on TV. You were a tax professional, and now you're a psychic medium. Like, these are three such different, and a spiritual guide and mentor. These are three such different, like crazy different avenues for yourself. Kind of tell me about that and your story and like how that all transpired.
Yeah, thank you. And I think what's amazing though, right, because they are so different, but if we think about it, it was body, mind, spirit, right? So it's almost as if spirit were preparing me all along for the trifecta, right? To truly understand how our body, our mind, and our spirit are all connected and intertwined. So, what's interesting is the journey with spirit really started when I was 4 years old. So that was my first spiritual experience when my grandfather came to me. And a lot of children, for any of your listeners out there who have kids, kids are extremely and highly intuitive. Now, usually between the ages of 10 and 12, they start to lose that. And a lot of times they lose it maybe because of society. Maybe it's, not cool around their peers. Maybe family unwillingly or unknowingly kind of discourages it. So there's a lot of reasons behind that. But for me, it stayed through all the way through. So it's always been with me. So even when I was a wrestler and even when I was a tax manager, actually even thinking back, I used it so much when I was preparing people's tax returns without realizing it. Like, oh, that number is not feeling right. Make sure you double check it with the client. Let's really make sure this feels in alignment. So it is kind of interesting how those nudges were really there all along and that insight was there. And I also feel like that's what allowed me to be so successful in those careers as well, right? Just trusting that intuition. But like many, many women out there, there comes a point when, we know when a particular chapter is coming to an end and we're feeling that nudge for the next chapter to begin. And, we experience lack of fulfillment, gratification. We get that nudge, that inner knowing. I think the hardest part about any of us is not knowing the next step first. And I think that that's where a lot of us get caught up in that web. And really what happens is it is like this feeling of, hey, you got to trust this. You got to know this. Okay. And so it's like trusting it, knowing it, and saying, hey, I may not know where that next step is. I just know it's time to move on. And then as you start to transition, the next step, I believe, starts to show itself to you.
Mm. I mean, it's almost like we're being intuitively guided in this conversation. I wrote that actually down in my notes of something I wanted to talk to you about is like, how do we use that intuition? How do we use that inner knowing to take those next steps? Because I think that's a lot of the time is what gets us stuck, and we feel it. Like we feel this something is missing, or this lack of fulfillment. And it's like this urge to do something else, but we don't really know what it is. And I feel like that is really our intuition telling us to, okay, let's explore a new path, or let's go a new direction. I mean, how do we learn to listen to that and trust it?
Well, I think what's also important as women, we're socially, it's programmed to not trust your thoughts, not trust your feelings, right? Like we do innately, but yet society says, oh, you're too emotional, or you don't really know what you want, or, we feel this pressure to say, hey, well, wait a second. Our family needs to come first. Our kids need to come first. Our careers need to come first. We put everybody in front of ourselves. And if we put ourselves first, then we're selfish, or, we feel guilty for doing that, I think. So I think first and foremost is to allow yourself to be unapologetic about taking care of your needs first, because when you are in your power, when you are in alignment with just your honesty, your authenticity, your integrity, when you're just so in alignment with speaking your truth, then that gives you the insight to kind of go, okay, now I know to trust my intuition. So the more you trust your own voice, the more you can trust your intuition. And then the more you trust your intuition, the more it's going to guide you to, call this person, meet up with that person, go in this direction, take that chance. It's really doing all of that.
But what if we don't even understand or know our own voice? What if we've gone through so much of our life, not listening to it, putting it aside? It is hard to reconnect to that. I mean, even for me this week, I was, I'm a writer, and I was ghostwriting on a book. And over the last couple of weeks, I've just been feeling very off about it. And I'm extremely intuitively connected too. And I just kept being like, I don't want to be labeled a quitter. I don't want to walk away from this. But the energies were not matching up. And it finally came to a head yesterday where that was the thing that needed to happen. And it took a couple weeks. Like, it's hard sometimes to listen to ourselves.
Yes. But the thing is what's interesting is your intuition was telling you, right? Hey, this isn't a match. You're not feeling fulfilled by doing this project. You're feeling obligated and the energy isn't there for you. But yet your ego mind is saying, oh, I can't be a quitter. I committed to this. I need to fulfill my commitment, right? So it's exactly what we're talking about, where, if you are unapologetic about, hey, wait a second, this isn't matching my energy. And, it's also, think about it this way, Courtney. If you were dating someone, right, and everything was great on paper and they looked really good, but somehow that energy wasn't matching, right? And you want to hang in there because you don't have a good reason to not date that person. But there's just something there that says, I just know that's not my person. I just know that's not the energy. Then there's an obligation to tell that person, because then they can find their true soulmate, and then you can find your true soulmate. So it's kind of very much the same thing. Like, if you're giving energy to this project that is not in alignment, that is not the best use of your gifts, and you're not serving them in the highest capacity because there's not good juju around it, right? For whatever it's feeling. Maybe you're feeling taken advantage of. Maybe they want you to go in a direction that lacks integrity for you, regardless of what it is, but you listening to you then gives them an opportunity for them to find someone more in alignment, and you to find projects that really are in alignment with your highest self?
I think we miss that so much. I think, like you said, it took me, and I actually wrote about this last night, and the fact that it's just, had I listened a couple of weeks ago to that nudge, I could have saved myself a lot of grief. I could have saved
Yeah.
myself a lot of stress, a lot of
Yep.
anxiety. I could have cleared that energy sooner.
Yeah.
And I know it takes time to sometimes accept that, but even like you're talking about in dating, I mean, that is the perfect example. I met my husband later in life and I tried everything, and anyone that was right on
Yeah.
paper, like, the outside world was saying, give them a chance, give them another chance. But I knew that those weren't my people.
Yeah.
But still, we tend to
Yeah.
ignore ourselves because the outside world is saying, well, they're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them a shot.
Oh.
Why do we do that?
Oh, right. And the outside world is saying, you're closed off, Courtney. You're closed off, and that's why you don't want to give them a chance. And you're like, no, I don't want to give them a chance because it doesn't feel right. I just know. And exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, I feel like, the more we can live in our truth is there. Now, one thing just too that I think is really helpful that I love is, you said, Colby, if I had known this 2 weeks ago, if I had trusted what I knew then, but it took this long, I would have saved myself X, Y, Z of aches, pains, discomfort, stress, worry. But use this as a learning tool, because what happens is you had all of those feelings and then you knew, so then you made a decision. So next time, right, you have those crossroads. Next time that something comes up, that intuition, you'll recognize it more, right? You'll recognize, oh, that feels icky for some reason. Remember, we don't have to know why it feels icky. We don't have to know why that energy doesn't feel in alignment. What we do have to know is to trust it. So again, you don't need to know the next step. You don't need to know the why. You just need to know it's not in alignment. I need to listen to that. And then once you do, then it will release it and let it go. And then that reasoning may come in after the fact. But we want it all wrapped up, right? We want it wrapped up in a pretty bow. We want to know, why is it not? How can it be? How can I force it? When we force something, when we white knuckle it, it's always going to be in the wrong direction. It's always going to, if your ego is going to try to challenge the universe, the energy of the universe, you're going to lose, right? Your ego is not stronger than the energy of the universe, but your higher self is an innately and intuitively already connected to the universe. So when you move into the higher self, that subconscious self, and trust it, now you're just plugged right into the energy of the universe, and you'll find things to flow a lot easier, a lot more seamlessly, and a lot less stressful. There's still going to be difficult decisions that we don't like, that are uncomfortable. You're going to have to let people go in your life. You're going to have to move past a job. You're going to have to say no to an opportunity that seems perfect. But the more we listen to it, the more you're going to feel that guidance within the pit of your stomach, your gut, your clairsentience, as we like to call it.
I've actually never heard it the way you just described it, but that whole concept, and it's such a visual concept to me, your ego versus the universe. I mean, wow, that is such a powerful thought, because that's what it is. And even in my instance with the writing, it was my ego. It was more like, what are people going to think? Or was this going to damage my reputation if I pull out of this project? Or, it's all that outside world, when inside it's like, no, this is not in alignment for either of you. And you're not doing anyone any favors.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a situation of, that it's not wrong that the ego steps in, right? It's a very natural fight or flight that the ego wants to step in and be a part of the conversation, and again, though, it's how we look at it. Well, I won't be perceived as a professional, or, am I not being a service? And again, I think it comes down to, looking at who you are, just intuitively, you are a very committed person. You are a professional person. And I think when you give your commitment to something, you give it 110% always,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're a perfectionist. So I think for you to give yourself permission to go, I'm going to walk away. That's a difficult thing for you, for your morals and for your
Mm-hmm.
compass. But to
Mm-hmm.
understand that that doesn't mean you're being of less service to that client. You're actually being of more service to that
Mm-hmm.
client because, that energy you can't make it. We can't fake the energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, but you say that we can't fake the energy, but then why do we have that phrase, fake it till you make it? Or even when it comes to things like manifesting, which I think is one of the most popular terms when it comes to spirituality, it's like embody this, fake it until it's yours. Like, how do those coincide? Because if you can't fake the energy, how do you actually achieve it?
So when we think about it, though, fake it till you make it is not
Mm-hmm.
about your higher self and it's not about your energy. It's about your ego, right? Let
Yeah.
me appear to be more confident. Let me appear to know more than I know. Let me appear to be the expert, the best person for this
Mm-hmm.
position. Let me appear to be more ready than I am. That's from an ego place. That's not from a spiritual place.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
even the fake it till you make it is coming from that ego stance. And again, sometimes that's needed to, you know, wedge yourself past the fear to nudge yourself forward because our spiritual self will want to do something. It will want to take a chance. It will want to go, but that ego may hold you back because of the fear. So I think that fake it till you make it is more about working past fear, but from an ego standpoint, not necessarily our higher self.
Well, and I've talked about it before, and I've switched the whole concept of fake it till you make it. It's something that's stuck in my head since I think junior high when I had a show choir teacher saying, fake it till you make, and that was more from a performance standpoint, But I flipped it a little bit
Right.
into saying like feel until it's real, It's more about feeling it. And I know you've been
Yeah.
talking a little bit about that is that whole like feeling and our intuition is more of a feeling, whether I mean there's all the different clear senses, but like it's more of a feeling from within that leads us rather than how we always go to our brain. We always go to our ego. And I think the outside world tells us that we need to use our head over our heart, where sometimes we need to flip that, I think.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is your intuition is really utilized by your clairsentience. So your clairsentience is your feeling, right? It's your sense of clear feeling. So when we naturally, everybody has intuition, every single one of us. Now, the more you're
Yeah.
stuck into your head and your thoughts and your fears, your worries, the less you're going to be connected to that intuition. But that intuition will always be a feeling first. And that trigger, if it's true intuitive, that trigger then as a feeling sparks maybe a thought, a
Mm-hmm.
visual, a word or hearing. So in that feeling, it may be, as a woman too, Courtney, and all the women out there, I'm sure all of us have had this experience where you turn down a street or you turn around the corner and
Mm-hmm.
there's just a feeling of something's not
Mm-hmm.
right. Or you see someone all the way down the street and it's a male or a couple and there's just something that says turn around. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know why, right? But there's the hairs on the back of your neck or on your arm or the pit of your stomach says turn
Yeah.
around and we turn around. That's your intuition saying move past this, don't go here, don't go. And we don't know
Mm-hmm.
why yet to don't go, but there's a sense of danger and multiple experiences, right? But as women, we're really connected to that. Mother's intuition is so
Mm-hmm.
strong, right? They just know if it's silent, a heartbeat too long, something's wrong. Let me go check on the kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's our connection. So the more we listen to that, the more then we can make sense. So what happens too is when we're in the ego mind, we have the fear, the worry, your thoughts will be repetitive. So here's what's interesting, right? We're going to go back to your example because I don't think there could be a more perfect example to use comparatively your intuition versus your ego mind. So
Mhm.
intuitively, you'd sit down to write. Intuitively, you didn't feel inspired. You didn't feel motivated. There wasn't a rush of creativity stepping in. There
Mhm.
wasn't a feel of joy around it. So intuitively, it wasn't really getting kick started, right? But the
Mhm.
ego mind is now starting to worry and obsess. Why isn't it coming in where I'm supposed to be doing it? I should like doing this more. I should be more committed to this. I should have more done by now. Whatever it is, right? The ego mind starts creating the repetitive thoughts over and over and over. You should go out with this guy. You should love this guy. This guy's so good. He's got a good job. He's a nice guy. You could have a nice life with him. Why are you not attracted to him? Why are you not interested in what's wrong with you? Right? So again,
Mhm.
we have those
Mhm.
repetitive thoughts versus the intuitive thoughts. So when we just lean into the intuitive thoughts, and again, I don't need to know why that spark isn't there with that date. I don't need to know why that spark isn't there with working with this client. You don't need to know it in order to make the decision. I think too many people wait for the decision to come in. But what happens is you waste months, and even me doing this for as long as I do. My best friend always says to me, I give people the benefit of the doubt for too long. I will know intuitively it's time to let go, of that particular relationship, regardless of what it is, professional, personal. But man, will I hang in there. So we all
Yeah.
are we are all a work in progress, right? We're all just kind of identifying and working on who we are, what we're about. But the more you can innately understand yourself and understand what puts you in your power and what pulls you out of your power, the more you can make healthy decisions around yourself that keep you in that power.
So do you think it is like the intuitive thoughts and that intuitive power and that inner knowing that we all have? Like you said, if you're walking down the street and something feels off, you turn around. It's instinct, it's intuition. It's very simple. It's very clear. It's not a lot of thought about it. It's just kind of, you feel it, you take action. Whereas when you're talking about it, like your ego mind, you're going into this constant thinking. And I know, like me, and I know a lot of people, especially women, suffer from anxiety. With that becomes ruminating thoughts. Do you think that is being
Yeah.
stuck in the ego?
Yes. So anything of a lower frequency or vibration,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, depression, um, worry, fear, anything that's actually going to be a lower vibration. And in that lower vibration, we are never in our power. So
Mm.
you'll know. I mean, think about, Courtney, the moments in your life where you felt so in the flow and you felt
Yeah.
so confident and everything was just easy and going. You were manifesting, you were in it. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like we're riding that wave in the ocean, right? We're just on it, in the zone, so to speak, as we say. That is in your power. That is standing in the power. So one way I like to think about it too, imagine an invisible line that goes through the top of your head all the way through the bottom of your feet. And it's a nice straight line. Where are you? Do you feel yourself bending out of that line? Like, do you feel
Mm.
yourself kind of coming out of it? Right. And you'll feel that more in here, more in that clairsentient space. So you'll feel yourself kind of going, oh, I'm not feeling so great. So the
Mm-hmm.
more we're really in that frequency, the more that you are in your power.
So how do we do that? I mean, we all have this. How do we step into that power more? How do we embrace that?
Well, think about it this way. When you have those feelings of, I want to say no, but you force yourself to say yes, and then you didn't enjoy it, listen to yourself. Don't be afraid to say no. Let go of, I feel like it's letting go of the worry and fear that we put on how others perceive us. So
Mm-hmm.
let go of, being a people pleaser, really having those boundaries that make you feel really strong and that make you feel good. understanding what it is that you want and becoming clear on that. Now, that's not going to happen if your head is full of, I should be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing that, um, all of these things. It's like this, it's this idea of, you know, kind of that hamster wheel. If you feel like you're in the hamster wheel, something's not working for you. And to just take time off. So a lot of people too, everyone is like, oh, go meditate on it. I mean, and that's great. Meditation is great. I have a hard time just sitting still. And for all my ADD and ADHD and all my women out there that can connect and relate, I say go out and garden, go out and go for a walk, go out and do a hike, do something that diverts the physical body, and you'll see that the mind will then start to work, and the mind will start to rest, right? You're not going to obsess over a decision if you're out there gardening, hiking, biking, whatever feels good to you. So allow yourself to do that, and then you're going to start to settle into those thoughts and feelings and whether or not they resonate, whether or not it's in alignment. And you're going to know, I mean, those feelings around you, we know, think about it. Okay. One thing too, I love what I call percolating, and percolating kind of happens across the board. So for instance, your decision, there was a feeling bubbling up. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this project. Like that's probably your first thought. I don't want to do it. You don't know why, so you start percolating over it. I'm percolating, but that percolation will help you move into the direction of what does feel good. And so when we can percolate on something, go, okay, how do I feel about that? So not how do I think about that? What does everybody think about? How's this going to look? How does it make me feel?
Do you think we are doing a disservice to ourselves and to women and to our children by telling us to stop feeling so much or stop? I mean, we talked about that. You were saying, how children at like 10 or 12, we turn that off. And I know our kids come in so intuitively. I have two very young kids. Harper's going to be 4 this week. Hayden's 2. And they are like my biggest lessons in intuition. And I know I was extremely intuitive as a child. And I know I've gone through so many, I've had mentors and healings and things like that. I know something happened at some point where I shut it down. I was told by multiple psychics at like a certain age, I saw something and I just kind of like, nope, I'm not going there. But if this is all connected to our feelings, do you think we're doing a disservice to ourselves, especially as women, because we're so afraid of what other people think or say, and we're taught to be kind and to be nice and to go with the flow, to not feel? I mean, is that just another way of disconnecting ourselves?
Yeah, it is, because again, we're based on society. Now, I think the great thing about it, and the great thing, for your kids, especially for the kids of the future, I think what's really great is women using their full voice is becoming more and more prominent and dominant in the society perspective. Okay. So we are really moving past play nice in the sandbox, right? We really are moving past, don't be disrespectful to a man who's being flirty if it's unwarranted, right? We're moving past all of that. And so I feel like intuition is being even taught more in the classroom. It's being more embraced for kids to say, how do you feel? And to express those feelings. So I think the one thing that we really can do, especially with kids, is, you don't want to lead the witness, so to speak. So I think with your kids, it's allowing them to express themselves without leading them, without judging them, and to really kind of just hold the space for them and allow them to tell you what they're experiencing. So for instance, if someone says to you, if Harper says, oh, mommy, there was a lady by my bed, You don't want to
Hmm.
say, "Oh, was it grandma? Did she have blonde hair? Did she?" Right? That's leading the witness because then the child is going to be, "Oh, yes, yes." If you say, "Oh, well, tell me about her. Tell me." You may find
Mm.
that it's someone who lived in the house before, or it is someone you recognize, but maybe not who you thought it was. So I think that those are ways where we can let kids, tap into their own gifts and embrace it without, diminishing it. And think about it this way, and I think this is one of the biggest ones. Mommy, there's a monster in the closet, or there's a monster under the bed, you know, or mommy, there's someone in the closet. Oh, I'll get that monster out. You're already calling it a monster without realizing what it is. The other thing, too, I think that is different. So, a lot of children, if they feel spirit around them, there are times like the physiological response of feeling spirit is that your heart will race. It feels a little panicky, I believe, but that's just the energy of us feeling the spirit. I think if we're not careful, that could be translated or interpreted as fear. Oh my goodness, something bad is here. And so if the parent doesn't realize, they could say, "Oh, I'll get that bad person out. Oh, don't you worry." When really your child may just be experiencing the physiological energetic response of feeling the spirit, right? And so that could be a big part of it. And so I think the biggest thing is not to create fear and to teach your child that they are protected. So it's
Mm.
connecting. So I believe, we have all these guides around us, right? So imagine a guide who is just there protecting your child, like your child and you, Courtney, you have an opportunity to innately and intimately connect to that guide to just feel
Hmm.
safe and secure. And that's something I always had. And I don't know why or how. I don't know how I was so blessed to just have that faith and that trust in this connection to this guy, to always know I was going to be protected. So I was never fearful of spirit. I never had a fear of, oh my goodness, this house is haunted. Yeah, there may have been spirit in it, but I loved it. It was great. I didn't have that fear because I always knew I was protected. So I think it's just, engaging and informing your child to have those connections as well.
Well, I think that is huge. I think that's why we see the rise in this whole concept of conscious parenting and allowing your children to feel. And I think
Yeah,
that's part of how you're even talking about women having their voices. It's the rise of consciousness of society in general. But even on the children's level, I think honing that intuition within them so that they don't hit their 30s or 40s and feel like, okay, who am I? I don't know who I am. Like they don't lose that connection. I mean, even with my children, just like you're talking about, I know how spiritual they are. I lost my grandfather in it was April or May. And my kids, the last time they saw him, Hayden wasn't even one. Harper was, two. And so it's not like they had a really great, like big, long connection with them. And within the week after he passed, my son was pointing in his room going, "Papa, Papa, Papa," in the corner. And he saw a picture of him when he was like 18 years old in high school. And like, he had never seen this picture of him. I didn't say who it was. I just had it out on my phone randomly. And he goes, "Papa," like he knew who he was. And then even just recently, my
yeah,
daughter was having a conversation with my husband one night and was talking, she was scared about something. And I don't know what it was. They were having a conversation and he said to her, "Well, we're here to protect you. Who protects you?" She's like, "Mommy, Daddy, Big Papa," who she hasn't seen in ages. And then Nana, Papa, like all the others. Big Papa was my grandfather who passed away. And then she started going in this whole story about him, how he comes to her. And I used to be scared of him, but now I love him and he's so silly and he brings me butterflies. And so it's like we do try and talk about that. And I think that's huge. And it's just, to me, it's so beautiful because I feel like he's with me since he's passed. I feel like he's like with me everywhere at all times. So I love being able to accept that in and open ourselves up to it. And I think if we can do that for our children from the beginning, it will help raise the consciousness of society moving forward.
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, I think just the fact that as a society, we're way more open and we're way more understanding of like, okay, we know that there's something beyond this physical experience. And I think just in general, moving forward, it's more embraced that we connect to that other side of ourselves, that higher self as well.
So do you see society's consciousness raising kind of as a collective as a whole at this point?
Oh, I do believe that. Yeah. Of course, you're going to have certain news and media and fear based, right? We're always going to have that yin and yang. But I just feel like ultimately, yes. I mean, think about how much more accepted it is that someone is talking about intuition, or they are talking about that alignment with the universe, and they are having global success with it. With your Mel Robbins, with your Gabby Bernstein, with your Tony Robbins. And, think about that. We wouldn't have really had that 50 years ago be such an acceptable form of connection and inspiration. But that tapping in, that connection to ourselves is really saying, hey, wait, there's something here. We all know this. We all know there's the power of our higher selves, our energy, and listening to our intuition. And so, yes, I absolutely believe it. And I think for your children and for a lot of, again, the future generations, it's going to open up more and more and more.
So why? I mean, why do you think changed? Why do you think now as opposed to 50 years ago? Why is it happening?
I feel like because science itself is proving that there's something to this. It used to be science against spirituality, right? Science against spirituality. And I feel like now science is proving, hey, wait a second, if someone's connecting and there is something happening in that person's brain, there is something that's unexplainable that is happening. And so I think the science is proving, wait, is something here. And so therefore, I believe it is becoming just more acceptable for ourselves to be in our awareness and in our subconscious, not just in our consciousness.
So science is essentially catching up with spirituality. How does religion play into that? Because, there's this sticky line between spirituality and religion, and aspects of religion definitely lend itself to being spiritual, but they're not always one and the same.
Well, what's really interesting, so spirituality, it's two things. There's a religion called spiritualism, and that's an actual identifiable religion as well, which is interesting. But I feel that, with religion itself, I feel like just through the awareness and acceptance of people being people and things opening up, and just most religions, I think, are just in themselves becoming more acceptable that, hey, wait a minute, we have this religion, but what does this look like? And they're becoming, a bit more all inclusive and a bit more open. And I think through that openness, I feel like, there's a less rigidness, about it. And I think there's more open-mindedness. And again, there's not this, I feel like too, there doesn't need to be a competition, right? I know for me, I see a lot of clients who are devout Catholics, and they will come to me for a session, right? There's that openness. And, and it's just, to me, there doesn't have to be this defining line of this is your belief and you better hold so strong to it without any flexibility. There's just this energy. And when we understand that this energy, whatever name we want to put on that or whatever it looks like, it doesn't matter. What matters is, are we of love? Are we of the vibration of love and openness? And through that vibration is connection.
Well, and that's one of the things I've said over and over and over again over the last year or two is just like, I don't care what you call it, as long as you call on it. It doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have to be the universe. It doesn't have to be an angel. It doesn't have to be a spirit. Like, it's there. There is something there. And I think that's where we can really tap into religion to support spirituality, because religion teaches that whole concept of faith. And without faith, it's really hard to embrace what the spiritual world brings in. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like it's just a matter of the more open we are becoming, the more aware that you allow yourself to be, the more you're opening up to opportunities, manifestation, to energy, to experiences, whether those experiences are, in the physical or in the spiritual realm. I think it just allows ourselves to be the most powerful versions of ourselves.
And when we do open ourselves up to that, do you find that we really do step into our true power and our true purpose and our true authenticity? Is that when it comes in?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's when it comes in. And when it's also knowing a direction that you feel on a soul level you want to go. And even though fear steps in, you just move past the fear. You don't wait till you're not fearful. You don't wait till
Yeah.
you're confident, then do it. You do it while you don't feel confident. You do it while you don't feel secure. You do it while you are experiencing fear. But then through that and through that experience and through that repetition, guess what? You're not fearful of that anymore. Now the next goal is here. Now the
Mhm.
next growth opportunity is here for us to then go, okay, I'm ready for this step. I'm ready for this
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, it's like baby steps, and it's using that faith and those feelings that are rising from within to step into the fear and own the fear and know that you can get through it. So it's like feeling, faith, and fear are all coming together. So with that in
Yes.
mind, do you have any like collective messages or something that you would anything you would like to share from spirit today?
Yeah, I just feel like, with spirit, I just feel like there's just a feeling of allowing yourself to, take some deep breaths in and just say to the universe, what would you like for me to know today? And when we do that, you will hear the universe answer you. The universe will say, there's nothing to be fearful of, knowing that you are all love, knowing that you are divinely connected to us, knowing that we are here with you and for you to guide you on your journey and your path. And as you lean into us, understand that we will not let you fall, that we will hold you up and carry you through the darkest and toughest moments of your journey to show you that you are more powerful than you can ever believe in yourself.
That's a big message. How do we take that? Because sometimes things get hard. Sometimes things
Yeah.
are tough. And we have to experience that. We have to experience the duality of the world. We have to experience the ups and downs to know it all. And as it's been explained to me, we're all a fraction of source. We're all down here, and source wants to have every experience. So we have to give all those experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the hard, the sad, all of that. But when we find ourselves in those hard spots, like how do we see through it? How do we believe that the universe has our back?
Well, I feel like the most important thing is optimism, right? Because optimism is going to help you raise your vibration. Expanding your
Mhm.
awareness is going to help you raise your vibration. If you get stuck in the anger, the depression, the disappointment, the why me, that's going to hold you stuck, right? And that's not going to help.
Mhm.
And it's to understand, okay, why am I having this experience? And, you know, those experiences may be leading you towards your end life purpose. The best way of helping another is understanding what you've been through, and you'll end
Mhm.
up helping others maybe through similar circumstances or similar experiences. And I do like to say, I'm a very, very practical person, as a prior tax accountant, that practicality is there. Look, there are times that bad stuff and crappy stuff is going to happen. It's going to suck. And I can't always say, well, there's a reason that happened. I mean, that would just be kind of, that's not fair to people who have truly been victimized by something in their
Right.
life. Well, this is your lesson. No, I don't believe that. I just feel like there's just sometimes bad things happen to really good people, and we may not understand why. But what we can understand is that we are stronger than that experience, and that experience won't dim our light, that we will rise above and beyond it. And maybe there is something beautiful, a silver lining that we can have. But ultimately, to know that we can still live a beautiful and abundant life, and that it just may not be different to how you thought it was going to be.
Well, I think that's huge because, we've all heard, you brought her up, Mel Robbins, her story, her financial ruin to success that led her into her purpose and her journey. And that story resonates with so many people on so many levels because they can see themselves in them. But there are certain things that it's just like, it's hard to say, oh, this happened for a reason. But maybe that reason is like,
Yeah.
that financial, as devastating as that was for her in that moment, there are other things that are, like you said, being victimized is on a completely different level. So you don't want to diminish that. But maybe what we need to hold on to in
Right.
those moments is that strength that we're being shown of character, the strength of self, the strength of love.
Yes, absolutely. And to understand that, you know, how can we how can we rise above whatever it is that we are going through? And we can, I believe that people absolutely can. And, through that comes love and joy and wisdom and experience. And, I believe that we can have happiness on the other side of anything that we've been through.
I think that's huge. I think that's the huge thing to hold on to is the optimism. Don't allow yourself to drown in the pity or the fear or the anxiousness or the depression or whatever those low vibrational emotions may be. Try and shift your feelings out of that state as best you can to the more positive ones. And the more you can do that, the more they will build upon each other.
Yeah. Yeah. People, anybody out there, if you are going through something very difficult and trying and you're in the midst of transition, um, understand that you will grieve. You're going to have a grieving process. And that grieving process, is you processing the experience, you processing what you thought was going to happen versus what happened in reality. Be gentle with yourself, be loving to yourself. You don't have to rush the grieving process. Give yourself that opportunity to feel that sympathy or that pain, that discomfort, whatever it is for you. But then again, giving yourself the opportunity to to uh, have faith to understand, okay, there is something better, or there is something more, or that this will work out for me. And I think that mindset can make a huge, huge difference in our ability to manifest.
Well, I mean, I know you probably deal with quite a few people that are going through grief journeys as a medium. How would we reach out to you and work with you, whether we would like to have mediumship readings, be intuitively coached, just psychic reading for ourselves, get your books, all the good stuff?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so if you visit colbyrebel.com, that's easy. You have the sessions there, you have the books there, you have the podcast there. Everything's all nice and pretty. If you want to follow me on social media, at Colby Rebel Medium is a great place. Across the various platforms, you just pick your favorite.
Well, Colby, thank you so much for joining me today. You have so much wisdom, so much to offer in this space, and I truly loved it, and I learned a lot, and I hope others did as well. And I'll put all the information of how to get in touch with you in the show notes. I really, really enjoyed having this conversation today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Courtney. It was so great talking with you as well. So thank you so much.
And that's it for today's Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, Colby, for such a great conversation all about connecting to spirit, raising our consciousness, and really using our feelings and our emotions and our clairsentience to guide us to the decisions that work best for us, owning our own power and stepping into the guidance available to all of us from day one. Also, on how to help our children hone that, nurture that, and continue on through their life so that they can follow it too. If you want to work with Colby, I'll put all the information of how to get in touch with her in the show notes below. And as always, you can find Intentional Media and Intentional Living with Courtney Myers at our website at CourtneyMyers.com. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.